Remember that story about Cindy You-Know-Who? When her Christmas was stolen, she knew what to do.
Why, Santa Claus? Why?
But what if I said that's not how it went down?
You gonna be okay? Because we can turn around right now.
No. Poor girl. Her mother was killed. Her mind snapped.
Did you ever find the Christmas killer?
Never got a reliable description of the man.
Dad? He is out there! What if the Christmas killer is back?
This town cannot go through another Christmas killer thing. Not again.
Us folks down in Newville, we liked Christmas a lot. But that thing that lives just north of Newville does not.
What is it?
The mean one. He's slippery, he's elusive. He's a mean one, that mister.
I'm not going to be a victim anymore.
Time to roast this beast. You're a dead one, mister.
Hello, everyone. I am Sean, and once again, welcome to my Horror Corner. As I always do, I just want to begin by thanking you for watching my video today. I appreciate you putting time into watching and listening to me for a few minutes, so thank you so much for that. And a special thank you to all of you who have subscribed to the channel. It went up a couple of numbers again this week, so not mind-blowing numbers by any means. I think there's like 13 of you so far, so but that's really not what's important. I just appreciate your support, so thank you so much for subscribing to the channel and interacting with me, liking the videos, making comments. I really do appreciate that. It means more to me than I can possibly express, so thank you so very, very much. And if you haven't hit the subscribe button yet, please do so. Subscribe to the channel. Help me out. Give me some support out there. And as always, I'm open to comments. I want to know what you think about the movie. I do want to hear your opinions. I want to know if you agree with my take or disagree. Do you like the movies? Do you not like the movies? And I'm open to input on the channel. I got some of that recently. So thank you so much for just interacting with me. I really do appreciate it. Today, we are going to continue on with our holiday horror movies, and let me apologize. I meant to get this video out so much earlier this week. I really planned on having this video release on Monday, but this last week and a half have been chaotic. I'll just say that they've been chaotic, and so I'm a little behind here. But get this episode up now, and then we have a special episode coming Monday. I will have some guests on my channel for an episode on Monday, and I'm really looking forward to that. I'll talk more about that at the end of today's episode, but let's go ahead and get into what I have for you today. I've mentioned this a couple of times that it was coming up. Finally working on getting it done here for you to get it out. So we are going to talk today about The Mean One from 2022, which is the Grinch. Christmas horror movie, even though that word is never used in the film. But let's talk about some things about the Grinch, and then we'll get into my opinion. I will say, I've seen this movie twice. I saw it last year about this time, and then watched it again just a couple of days ago to do this episode. When I first heard about this movie, I believe, and I'm losing my mind sometimes, I feel like, but I think I heard about this movie last year, and I thought it was brand new at that point. I didn't realize that it had actually come out in 2022. Somewhere I just missed it on that big time. But when I heard about this movie, I was very, very excited. One, just because I like this kind of stuff, and two, as a kid, The Grinch was my favorite Christmas cartoon. I'm still a fan of the Grinch character. Somebody was making fun of me a couple of weeks ago because I was actually watching the animated Grinch from back in the day, and they were like, Why, as a grown man, are you watching the cartoon? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't really have a good reason, but other than I like it. So I've always been a fan of The Grinch. Um, the movie, that came out with Jim Carrey a few years ago, I thought was good. I was a little disappointed with it just because I thought it was a little bit too long and carried on a little bit too much, but it was still fine. Um, I guess I just preferred that old time classic cartoon better, but I was super excited when I heard about this Grinch Christmas horror movie. Now, as we get on into this, I'll let you know my opinion the first time I saw it and what I think again now after seeing it a second time. But before we get into my opinion, let me put my glasses on so I can read, and let's talk The Mean One. So, The Mean One was released December 9th of 2022, directed by Stephen Lamort. Screenplay was done by Flip and Flynn Cobbler, or Kobler. Not sure how you pronounce that. Interesting names, Flip and Flynn. Um, yeah. Story done as well by Stephen Lamort. It was produced by Amy Shoemaker, Stephen Lamort, and Martine Malau. Cinematography done by Christopher Sheffield. Music by Yal Benamar. It was distributed by Atlas Film Distribution. Production companies were Sleight of Hand Productions, Amy Rose Productions, and Cali Pictures. Runtime of 93 minutes. I could not find. I was really trying to research it even today before getting home from work and sitting down to do this. I cannot find a budget on this film. Um, I don't think it was much, but maybe I'm wrong. However, the box office was $612,260. So not huge numbers at the box office. Um, if the budget was much at all, this movie flopped, unfortunately. So I don't think it was really very successful or did very well. Cast for the film: David Howard Thornton, whom we all know as Art the Clown, portrays the Mean One. Crystal Martin portrays Cindy. Chase Mullins as Detective Burke. John Bigham as Doc Zeus. Uh, Eric Baker as Sheriff Hooper. Flip Cobbler as Lou. And Amy Schumacher as Mayor McBean. Just to give you a brief synopsis of the film, I always try to do that before I get into too many different things. So, brief synopsis of the film. Of course, I'm sure everybody that might watch this video knows the Grinch story, but the synopsis for The Mean One. In a sleepy mountain town, Cindy witnesses the murder of her mother by a green figure in a red Santa suit. 20 years later, the monster begins to terrorize the town again. Cindy has returned and finds purpose in trying to stop the creature and save Christmas. There's the synopsis for The Mean One. I also, I've mentioned this before too. I try to just find a few things fact-wise to talk about the movie, to discuss a little bit before I get into my opinion. And there's not a lot out there for this film. There's really not much out there. Um, I did see that the reception by critics has been very, very poor. It was not ranked highly with critics at all. As far as the audience, I didn't really look at a lot, but I know a few people that I've spoken with aren't that impressed by this movie. They like David Howard Thornton's performance as the Mean One, but other than that, not a lot of people seemed impressed with this film. Um, because it's unauthorized, uh, it uses a completely different language than what is in the original story by Dr. Gruce. Dr. Gruce. Sometimes I can't speak and it cracks me up. Um, the original story, How the Grinch Stole Christmas, by Dr. Seuss. Language is completely different. It's not Whoville, it's Newville. It's not Grinch, it's the Mean One. Um, yeah, so just, different language, but it's very, very obvious what the film is. Um, so let's kind of get into the film. I'm not going to go through extreme detail in talking about the plot. This may be a little bit shorter episode than what I've recently had, but I think that's okay. Um, so, with the opening of this film, we get to witness Cindy, and she comes upon the Grinch doing things around the Christmas tree. Um, One of the things before that actually happens, though, is we kind of get this narration, and I will say I enjoyed the narration. The narration kind of talks about how this story, and goes through a few things, and then the guy says, "But what if I tell you that's not how it went down?" And then so we started getting a different. We get right into this different version. I liked the narration. I thought that was a great setup. I thought when we get the reveal of the mean one. I thought that looked really good. I thought the character looked great for the film. Um, and then we get, of course, uh, it initially seems like Cindy and the mean one may get along, and then her mother comes in, interrupts the scene, starts talking, calling the mean one a monster, and the mean one ends up knocking her back, and she ends up getting killed. Um, kill was okay, but I really enjoyed the way the film started. Again, I liked the narration that they did. I thought they worded that very cleverly, and it was comical. I liked the way the Grinch looked, and I liked the setup. I thought, okay, this because I was super excited, like I said, for this film, and so I remember the first time I saw it, really kind of enjoying this opening, thinking, okay, this is going to be really good, and then seeing it again a few days ago, caught myself thinking the exact same thing. I mean, this time I know how it turns out, but just caught myself thinking I really do like the opening for the film. I think it's great. But then we kind of get more into, now 20 years has gone by since this. Cindy and her father have left Newville, but they have returned. And Cindy had, told stories the night her mother was killed of that she saw a green figure in a Santa Claus outfit, that's who killed her mother. Um, the sheriff and the police did not believe her back then, and it's quickly revealed that they still don't believe her story from years ago. Couple of questions I had here, and my biggest problem with this film in general uh, really begins right here. It starts very, very quickly. Um, One is I don't understand, sometimes I try not to nitpick little things because a lot of times there's little things here and there that you may not like, you may not understand, but at the same time they just take away a little bit, maybe just bug you a little. I don't understand Cindy and her father coming back. I think if I lived in a small town, very small town, and my wife or my mother had been killed by some type of a monster, I see no reason to come back. So I'm kind of confused why they came back in the first place. And of course, they get back and they also find out that Christmas is no longer celebrated in this town. You can't have lights, you can't have, Christmas trees, you can't have anything. Um, the the problem here is the acting in this movie, with the exception of David Howard Thornton, and maybe with the exception of Eric Baker as Sheriff Hooper, is not good. Um, I get it. I'm not an actor. I'm not saying it's an easy job. I'm sure it's very difficult to have to do different things. So I really hate to criticize, but the acting in this film is horrible, in my opinion. It's very terribly done as far as the acting in it. It's so bad that it really does begin to take away from the movie early on. You get past that intro and you get into this, and I just find myself, I just wasn't buying any performances and was really having a hard time even liking characters. Um, Lou, Cindy's father, seems okay, I guess, but again, I just really didn't think the acting was good here, especially by uh, the lady playing Cindy. And the acting was really causing me to struggle. I kind of remember thinking that the first time I watched it. It was more apparent to me in watching it the second time just a few days ago. I really was struggling with the acting in the film. Although, then Cindy and her father are at home and they go ahead and, or they're at their cabin and they go ahead and decorate for Christmas because they plan on bringing some Christmas joy and some Christmas spirit back to the town. And the mean one ends up showing up and killing her father, and his death looks good. That death scene is not bad. And then we get into Cindy's at the hospital after this attack where, the mean was after her and ended up killing her father. Um, and we get the introduction of the mayor, who is an incredibly annoying character and more bad acting, in my opinion. Um, and it's just, again, it's continuing to take me more and more out of the film. There were things that would happen a little bit here and there that I would kind of enjoy, or maybe something that I would even find a little bit funny, but the acting was just making it so hard to just stay 100% plugged in. Other than David Howard Thornton's performance, I thought, I mean, we all know how great he is as Art the Clown. I think he did a great job as the Mean One as well. I don't think he's given as much for the Mean One as he was for Art the Clown, but he still does a very good job, in my opinion, and he carries this film, 100% carries this film. I think if anybody else had been portraying the mean one, um, it would have been it would have been worse. But again, we get the annoying mayor. We, like I said, more bad acting. We kind of find Cindy discovers, she goes back to the cabin where her father was killed, this rare flower. She traces it to these snowy mountains that are up near the place, and she begins to investigate and starts finding wallets of missing people and that kind of thing up there. And then meanwhile, we get another fun scene in the film where there's this bar, and I guess the entire town is not 100% against celebrating Christmas because you've got a bunch of people dressed up like Santa and having a little holiday party, and the mean one comes in and kills all of them. And again, we get some good kills. You kind of get some Terrifier-like things. Not, not as good, I get it, but something that reminded me of Terrifier. You kind of see that there, and you get some good kills. And there's a fun scene in that bar as the mean one is killing these people trying to enjoy this holiday party. And then we have the introduction of another character, Doc Zeus, who everybody just calls him Doc in the film. This particular character I actually found amusing. Like, there were several things that were stated that I thought were funny. One of my favorite parts of the film then comes because we realize that Doc, he believes Cindy. He believes he seems to be the only one that believes her story about the green monster and the Santa Claus suit because his wife had also been murdered years ago. And there is a scene, though, that I just found very amusing where he and Cindy are talking, and he's kind of telling the story and what he knows about the mean one. And multiple times, right as he gets to the point to where he just about calls the mean one the Grinch, a waitress stepped up and screams that there's an order ready for I can't remember the first name, but someone Finch. And it's just, the way it's done is pretty clever. I find it funny. I laughed at it the first time and enjoyed it, and I laughed at it again the other day. I had forgot about it, but I did enjoy that scene as well and thought it brought some humor to the film. But Doc believes her, and he has decided that he is going to help Cindy in efforts to get rid of the mean one. But we then go into something else that is probably my least favorite part of the movie, and the thing that I understand, it completely changes the tone. It completely, with a movie that was struggling with some acting, this then you almost feel like you're watching a Rocky film or something, because Cindy begins to start training to go up against the mean one. And it's just way too much, and it's way too long, in my opinion. Again, this film had a runtime, as I mentioned earlier, of 93 minutes, so it's not a long movie. I mean, just barely over an hour and a half. But there's times where it feels longer, and there's times where it drags. And the biggest part of that film is this training scene where she's trying to get ready to go battle the mean one is the most ridiculous, pointless, absurd thing in this entire film. It just irks me tremendously. I remember not liking it the first time I saw it, thinking this is stupid. And when I watched it a couple of days ago, I found myself thinking this is even more stupid than what I originally thought. I just really don't like this scene because it just changes everything. It's almost trying to turn this girl into some kind of an amazing warrior, like she's supposed to be, Selena in Terrifier or something, and it just doesn't fit. It doesn't work. It just doesn't go, in my opinion, with the rest of the tone of the movie. And I can see people watching this and maybe even turning this movie off and being done at that point. I didn't either time, but I can see why people would, because you've already kind of struggled with some acting, and then now you get to this and it's just not good. We also find out then shortly thereafter that the sheriff and the mayor have actually been luring people to these mountains and basically feeding the mean one to keep him from attacking the town. So they're trying to protect the town by feeding the mean one, and the only way they can figure out to do that is to draw people into this supposed tourist attraction there in the mountains, where then the mean one attacks and kills people. The mayor then decides to try to leave town. the Grinch finally, or sorry, the Grinch, the mean one, ends up killing her. Not a bad scene, a pretty good scene there. That kill scene was good. The kill scenes really are not bad in this film. I enjoyed the death scenes. We also then find out that Deputy Burke, who he and Cindy seem to be, very fond of each other, decides that he's going to go into the mountains and try to kill the mean one so that Cindy doesn't. Cindy goes up there as well. The sheriff ends up getting up there and finally decides that, he's been wrong all this time. He tries to justify what they had been doing, but he needs to go try to take care of things. But he also ends up getting killed by the mean one. And then finally, after, some things going down, a couple of close calls, Cindy waits in her home. She turns on all the Christmas lights. She's ready for this battle with the mean one. He shows up and they begin to go at it. And then Cindy sees a necklace that she had given the mean one the night that he came into her home when she was little, the night that her mother killed. And she realizes that the mean one has kept this necklace. And what we kind of get then is another thing that I don't think fits with the film. I just don't like the way they spun it in this direction. Is that the creature never really wanted to hurt anyone, but the mother's death, Cindy's mother's death, was accidental, and then Cindy screaming at him and calling him a monster is what set him off and caused him to start killing people. And so Cindy decides that this really isn't his fault, and feels bad for him, and so she decides to forgive the mean one. My problem with this is it's just too big of a reach. I understand what they were trying to do because of the ending, because then at the end you do get, because she forgives the mean one, then just like in the cartoon, his heart begins to grow. And in the cartoon and the Jim Carrey movie, that changes the Grinch, right? But in this film, the mean one, as his heart begins to grow, it explodes and ends up killing the mean one. So I realized what they were trying to do. They wanted to bring that ending in, which honestly is not a bad ending. Doing that was I kind of liked, as far as the heart growing and exploding and that being what would kill him. I like doing that to kind of pay that tribute to, to the classic story. I so I know that's what they were trying to do, is they were trying to bring in some kind of a tender moment there between Cindy and the mean one to get us to that. But at the same time, it just doesn't land for me, I don't think. This is a creature that has killed her mother. This is a creature that has killed her father. This is a creature that has scarred her for life, and she decided to become, Lara Croft, the Tomb Raider, to do battle with. And now she's suddenly going to decide, oh no, this is my fault because I called him a monster, so I'll forgive him and everything is okay. I don't buy it. I really, really don't buy it. It just was too big of a stretch for me, the way they decided to do that. And it, again, just didn't fit, in my opinion. I just don't, I don't know what it would have been. I haven't put thought into it, but I feel like there has to have been something else they could have done to have got us to that point. Maybe they needed to just change some things throughout the film all the way around to do something different, but I just don't like that part. I like the end result, but I don't like how we got there, if that makes any sense. So that's pretty much the mean one. Rating this movie is a little bit difficult for me because there are things about this film. I mean, it sounds like I've been shitting on it for the last 20 minutes, but there are things about this film that I actually like. I like the death scenes. I like David Howard Thornton's performance as the mean one. And I like the idea of a Grinch horror film. And I think it got off to a good start. I really liked the way things were set up and things got going. There was potential for this to be a good film, in my opinion, at least for somebody like me, because, as I've said before, slasher films are my favorite, but I'm also very on board with these movies that are coming out nowadays that, where these films have become available for them to use. Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, I really enjoyed. Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey 2, even better. And I'm super excited about Peter Pan and Pinocchio, and even the Popeye movie that's coming. I mean, I'm all in for these kinds of movies, and so again, was super excited about this Grinch movie a couple of years ago. But and there are things I like, and there was potential there for it to be a really good movie. But I think that they missed the mark in multiple, and if, well, maybe not multiple. They missed the mark in a few areas. There were things that did not land and didn't go well. Primarily that training scene again, that just really, really annoyed me. And then the performances, other than David Howard Thornton, and like I said, I don't think Eric Baker's performance as Sheriff Cooper was bad, but I thought the rest of the performances were just not good. And like I said, I really hate to say that, but I didn't um, I didn't like Crystal Martin's performance as Cindy. I didn't like Amy Schumacher's performance as the mayor. Um, Even though the character of Doc was funny, John Bigham didn't seem like the greatest actor in the world. So bad acting and some big swing and misses hurt this film. It had potential and it had some good things, but overall it missed the mark and very bad performances, in my opinion, for this film. So rating it is so difficult because I will probably watch this film again. I don't hate it so much that I will never watch it again. This is not the kind of movie that I'm going to watch anytime other than Christmas, but this movie could be on, my every year horror holiday list of movies that I go through and watch. Uh, I watch Black Christmas every year, the original and the 2006 remake. I watch Krampus every year. Try to watch Silent Night, Deadly Night every year. I mean, there's a host of Christmas horror films out there that I watch every year because that's just my tradition. The Mean One um, could be part of that. I don't hate it so much that I'll never watch it again. I will probably watch it, but it's not going to be a film like, I talked recently about Black Christmas from 2006. I'll watch that movie even when it's not Christmas time. I really, really enjoyed that movie. The original from 1974, that classic. I will watch that movie when it's not Christmas time. Um, the Mean One I would only watch at Christmas. So saying that to say that I don't hate the film, but yet there are things about it that I just really don't like either. And so those are the hardest ones to rank. My rating scale is a 1 to 5, 5 being like an A, 4 being a B, 3 a C, 2 a D, 1 an F. You have excellent, very good, good to average, not good, and terrible. Um, this is not a very good movie. It's not a 4. I don't think it's bad enough to give it 2 for being not good, again, because there are things that I did like about it and I will watch it again. So it really is going to land in that middle for me, and I'm going to give The Mean One a 3. I'll just go right there in the exact middle with a 3. Things I like: great performance from David Howard Thornton, some funny moments, some good kills, but then bad acting and some huge misses with what they were trying to do hurt the film as well. So 3 out of 5 on The Mean One for me, and I feel like that's maybe being a little bit generous, but yeah, that's where I stand on that. So let me know what you think. I want to know if you like this film, if you don't like this film. Do you agree with what I've said about it? Do you disagree? Do you think it's much better than I'm giving it credit for? Or do you think it's shit and should never be seen again? I want to know what you think. So interact with me. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, leave me some comments. Let me know what you think about The Mean One, and let me know what you think about my YouTube channel, Sean's Horror Corner. And as always, you can find me on social media. I am on Instagram. I am on TikTok. I am on Blue Sky. I am on X, used to be Twitter. Sean's Horror Corner is pretty much where you can find me on absolutely everything. One exception: X. Sean's Horror Corner is too many characters, and so it is just My Horror Corner. So if you're looking for me on X, it's My Horror Corner. Everything else is Sean's Horror Corner. Give me a follow. I greatly appreciate that. I do appreciate the support. I love interacting with the horror community. Subscribe to the channel. And next episode, so some very dear friends of mine that I have met in the horror community, met them online, Bo and Kayla from Critic After Dark and Miss Critic After Dark, and Brendan and Sam, who have been so encouraging and just great to get to know from our life in horror. They're all going to be on with me, and the 5 of us are going to discuss the Black Christmas franchise in general. We're going to rank the 3 films. We'll see what each one of us does as far as the ranking of the films, and just talk about the franchise in general. I'm really looking forward to that, and I plan on having that up for you on Monday. And then from there, we're going to talk about Krampus. I mentioned that one, I think, a little bit ago. So Black Christmas review with some guests next week, and Krampus towards the end of the week next week. Hope you'll join us for those. Hope you will subscribe. Thank you so much for watching again, And this video will come out on Thanksgiving, so happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Have a great night.